They found her on the third morning, lying between two corpses in the mortuary's coldest chamber. Her skin was ice. Her lips were blue. But her eyes were wide open, staring at something no one else could see. The mortuary attendant screamed when Ada sat up. What happened in those 3 days changed everything. Not just for Ada, but for everyone who ever thought they could break her. This is the story of how a woman became something else entirely. Before we continue, I urge you to please subscribe to this channel, like and share this story with your family and everyone. Now let's continue the story. 6 months earlier, Ada was just a woman in love. Or at least, that's what she told herself every morning when she woke up in Chaik's house. The house that was supposed to be their home, but never quite felt like hers. Chaik's mother made sure of that. You call this jollof rice? Mama Chaik stood in the kitchen doorway, her wrapper tied high above her waist, her face twisted in disgust. My son married a woman who cannot even cook proper jollof. Ada stirred the pot slowly. She'd been cooking since 5 in the morning. It was now 7. Her back ached. Her feet were swollen. Mama, I followed your recipe exactly. Don't talk back to me. Mama Chaik moved closer, her voice dropping to that dangerous whisper Ada had learned to fear. You think because my son put a ring on your finger, you can disrespect me in my own son's house. My own son's house. Not their house. Never our house. Always his house. Ada bit her tongue. She'd learned that too. Silence was survival here. Chaik's 2 sisters were worse. Ngozi and Amara treated Ada like she was the help. They'd show up unannounced, dump their children with her, raid the refrigerator, and leave without even a thank you. Ada, watch my children while I go to the salon. Ada, iron this dress for me. Ada, why is there no fresh pepper soup? You know I like pepper soup when I visit. And Chaik? Chaik did nothing. He'd come home from work, kiss his mother's cheek, greet his sisters warmly, and barely glance at Ada. Baby, can we talk? Ada tried one evening after everyone had finally left. Not now, Ada. I'm tired. He was always tired. Too tired to talk. Too tired to listen. Too tired to see what his family was doing to his wife. But never too tired for his phone. Ada noticed it 3 months into the marriage. The way he'd angle his screen away from her. The way he'd smile at messages, that soft smile he used to give her during their courtship. The late nights at the office. The lipstick stain on his collar that wasn't her shade. The perfume that lingered on his shirts, sweet and cloying, nothing like the subtle scent Ada wore. She said nothing at first. What would she say? And to whom? Mama Chaik would blame her. You must not be satisfying my son. That's why men stray. A good wife keeps her husband happy. His sisters would laugh. You expected faithfulness? From a man? Welcome to marriage. So Ada swallowed it all. The disrespect. The loneliness. The betrayal. She swallowed it until she thought she might drown in it. The breaking point came on a Saturday. Mama Chaik had organized a family meeting. Unusual, but not unprecedented. Probably another lecture about Ada's inadequacies as a wife. Ada prepared herself mentally as she served drinks to everyone in the living room. Chaik sat in his father's old chair. Mama Chaik occupied the sofa like a queen on her throne. Ngozi and Amara flanked her like sentries. And there was someone else. A woman Ada had never seen before. Young, beautiful, pregnant, very pregnant. Ada's hands trembled as she set down the last glass. Sit down, Ada. Mama Chaik's voice was cold. Ada remained standing. Something in her gut told her she needed to be ready to run. I said sit. She sat. Mama Chaik gestured to the pregnant woman. This is Chidinma. She's carrying my grandchild. My son's child. The room tilted. Chaik wouldn't meet her eyes. You have failed to give my son a child in 6 months of marriage. Mama Chaik continued, each word a blade. Chidinma conceived within weeks. This tells me everything I need to know. Mama, please. Chaik finally spoke, but weakly, without conviction. Quiet. I'm speaking. Mama Chaik turned her full attention to Ada. Chidinma will move into this house. You will treat her with respect. You will help her during her pregnancy. And when the child is born, you will help raise it as your own. Ngozi smirked. Amara examined her nails. Chidinma had the grace to look uncomfortable, but she said nothing. No. The word left Ada's mouth before she could stop it. Silence. What did you say? Mama Chaik leaned forward. I said no. Louder this time. Clearer. Something was rising in Ada's chest. Something hot and wild and utterly reckless. You don't have a choice, Ngozi said, laughing. Chaik. Ada turned to her husband. You're going to let this happen? He looked at her finally, and in his eyes, she saw the truth. He wanted this. Maybe not the confrontation, but the arrangement. The idea of having both women, both lives, his mother's approval and his mistress. He wanted all of it. And Ada? She was just the obstacle. Maybe it's for the best, he said quietly. Just until you conceive. Then Chidinma we can figure something out. You bastard. Mama Chike shot to her feet. How dare you speak to my son that way? Your son is a liar and a cheat. Ada stood too, her voice rising to match the fury in her heart. And you, all of you, you're complicit. Get out. Mama Chike pointed to the door. Get out of this house right now. This is my house too. I'm his wife. You are nothing. Mama Chike screamed. You are a barren woman who cannot keep her husband satisfied. You are nothing but a burden, a mistake. Ada didn't hear the rest. She was already moving. Out of the living room. Up the stairs. Into the bedroom she'd shared with Chike. She threw clothes into a bag. She didn't care what she grabbed. She just needed to leave before she did something she'd regret. Or before they did something worse to her. As she descended the stairs, bag in hand, Mama Chike blocked her path. If you leave this house, you can never come back. You understand? Never. Ada looked at her. Really looked at her. This woman who'd made every day a nightmare. Who'd poisoned her son against his wife. Who'd orchestrated this entire humiliation. Good, Ada said. Because I would rather die than spend another night under this roof. She pushed past Mama Chike and walked out the door. Behind her, she heard Chike call her name. Once. Weakly. She didn't turn around. Ada's aunt lived across town in a small flat that smelled of camphor and old prayer books. Auntie Ngazika was her father's oldest sister, a woman who'd never married, who spoke to spirits, who knew things. When Ada showed up at her door, sobbing and shaking, Auntie Ngazika simply opened her arms. I knew you would come, the old woman said. I saw it 3 days ago in the water bowl. They sat together in the small living room. Auntie Ngazika made bitter leaf tea and listened while Ada poured out everything. The disrespect, the betrayal, the pregnant mistress, all of it. When Ada finished, Auntie Ngazika was quiet for a long time. What do you want, child? She finally asked. I want them to pay. The words came out harsh, raw. I want them to feel what I felt. I want. Be careful what you ask for. I don't care. Ada's voice cracked. They destroyed me, Auntie. They took everything. My dignity. My marriage. My future. I want justice. Justice. Auntie Ngazika rolled the word around in her mouth, like she was tasting it. Or revenge. What's the difference? The old woman stood and moved to a small shrine in the corner of the room. Candles flickered in front of carved figures. The smell of incense hung heavy in the air. There is a way, Auntie Ngazika said, her back still turned. An old way. A dangerous way. Ada's heart began to pound. Tell me. You must die for 3 days. What? Auntie Ngazika turned around. Her eyes were serious, almost frightening in their intensity. Not truly die, but touch death. Stand at the threshold between this world and the next. In that liminal space, you can petition the spirits. Ask for power. Ask for retribution. How? The mortuary. You must sleep with the dead for 3 nights. No food. No water. Only you and the corpses and the spirits that walk between them. Ada felt cold suddenly, despite the warm evening. If you survive, Auntie Ngazika continued, you will return changed. You will have powers. You will be able to see things, do things that ordinary people cannot. You will be able to make them pay. And if I don't survive, then you will truly die. And perhaps that would be a mercy, considering what you've suffered. Silence filled the room. Somewhere outside, a dog barked. Life continued, oblivious. I'll do it, Ada said. Think carefully. I've already decided. Ada met her aunt's eyes. I have nothing left to lose. They took everything. So yes, I'll do it. I'll sleep with the dead. I'll touch death. I'll do whatever it takes. Auntie Ngazika nodded slowly. Then we begin tomorrow night. Auntie Ngazika spent the entire next day preparing Ada for what was to come. You cannot go in there as you are now, the old woman said, crushing herbs in a wooden mortar. Your spirit must be prepared. Your body must be cleansed. She bathed Ada in water mixed with bitter leaves, alligator pepper, and things Ada couldn't identify. The water was cold. It smelled like earth and iron and something ancient. 7 times, Auntie Ngazika instructed. Submerge yourself 7 times. Each time, think of what you're leaving behind. Chike's face. His mother's cruelty. The sound of Chidinma's laugh. The way they'd all looked at her like she was nothing. With each submersion, Ada felt something loosening inside her. The fear, the shame, the desperate need to be accepted by people who would never accept her. All of it washing away. After the bath, Auntie Ngazika marked her body with white chalk. Lines and symbols Ada didn't understand, but felt in her bones. These will protect you, her aunt explained. In that place, between life and death, there are things that hunt. Things that would love to claim a living soul that ventures too close. These marks will keep you hidden. Mostly. Nothing is guaranteed, child. You are choosing to walk a path that most people are too wise or too afraid to walk. As evening approached, Auntie Ngazika brought out a small pouch filled with powder. When you enter the mortuary, sprinkle this at the 4 corners. North, south, east, west. It will create a boundary, a sacred space within that unholy place. Unholy. Death is natural. But mortuaries are human constructions designed to delay death's work. The spirits there are restless, confused, sometimes angry. Auntie Ngazika pressed the pouch into Ada's palm. Respect them. Apologize for your intrusion. Explain why you're there. The dead understand injustice better than the living. Darkness fell. Auntie Ngazika had made arrangements with the night watchman at the city mortuary, a distant cousin who owed her favors and didn't ask questions. They drove through empty streets. Streetlights cast orange glows on cracked pavement. The city slept, unaware that one of its daughters was about to cross into forbidden territory. The mortuary was a squat, gray building that looked exactly like what it was, a place of death and endings. The watchman, an old man with cloudy eyes, met them at the back entrance. Your niece is brave or foolish, he said to Auntie Ngazika. Both, the old woman replied. He led them through dim hallways that smelled of formaldehyde and industrial cleaner. Their footsteps echoed. Somewhere, a generator hummed. They stopped in front of a heavy metal door. Chamber 3, the watchman said. We have 2 bodies in there now. An old man who died yesterday. A young woman from a car accident 3 days ago. I can let you in, but after that, you're on your own. I won't come back until the 3rd morning. That's all we ask, Auntie Ngazika said. The watchman unlocked the door. Cold air rushed out, carrying with it the unmistakable smell of death, sweet and rotten and wrong. Ada's stomach churned. Last chance to change your mind, Auntie Ngazika said softly. Ada thought of Chike's betrayal, his mother's cruelty, the pregnant mistress sitting in what should have been her home. No, she said. I'm going in. She stepped through the doorway. The cold hit her first. Not just cold. The kind of cold that seeps into your bones, that makes you understand, viscerally, what it means to be alive. Because this place was the opposite of life. The chamber was larger than she expected. Steel tables, white walls, and the bodies. The old man lay on the table to her left, covered by a thin sheet. She could see his profile, sunken cheeks, hollow eyes, mouth slightly open as if in mid-sentence. The young woman was on her right. Younger than Ada, maybe early 20s. The sheet didn't quite cover her feet. One arm hung off the side of the table, fingers slightly curled. Ada's heart hammered. She remembered the pouch. With shaking hands, she moved to each corner of the room, sprinkling the powder as Auntie Ngazika had instructed. North, south, east, west. Her voice sounded small and scared in the vast cold of the chamber. When she finished, she stood in the center of the room, between the 2 bodies, and spoke to the darkness. I'm sorry for disturbing your rest. I come seeking power to right a wrong, to balance scales that have been tipped against me. I mean no disrespect to you or this place. Silence. Of course there was silence. What did she expect? The dead to answer? She found a corner of the room, away from the bodies but still within the sacred boundaries she'd created. She sat down, pulling her knees to her chest. The floor was hard and cold beneath her. And then she waited. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time felt strange here, elastic and unreliable. Ada's mind wandered. She thought about her wedding day. How happy she'd been. How naive. She'd worn her mother's dress, white lace with pearl buttons. Her mother had died when Ada was 12, but she'd kept the dress all these years, dreaming of the day she'd wear it. Chike had looked handsome in his tuxedo. He'd cried when he saw her walking down the aisle. Or at least, she'd thought they were tears of joy. Now she wondered, had he already been having doubts? Had his mother already been poisoning him against her? A sound pulled her from her thoughts. Dripping. Water dripping somewhere in the chamber. She looked around, but saw nothing. The sound continued. Steady. Rhythmic. Drip. 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 Then it stopped. And in the silence that followed, Ada heard breathing. Not her breathing. Someone else's. Something else's. Her eyes adjusted to the darkness, and she saw it. A shadow near the young woman's body. Darker than the surrounding darkness. Moving. Watching. I sprinkled the powder, Ada whispered, more to herself than to the thing in the shadows. I created the boundary. The shadow moved closer to the edge of her protective circle, and Ada understood with sudden, terrible clarity. The powder didn't keep things out. It kept them interested. It marked her as someone who knew. Someone who understood the old ways. Someone worth paying attention to. The shadow circled her slowly. She could feel its attention like a physical weight. What do you want? It seemed to ask, though it spoke no words. The question arrived directly in her mind, bypassing sound altogether. Justice, Ada whispered. The shadow laughed. Not a sound. A feeling. Cruel and ancient. Justice, it seemed to say. You want revenge. You want them to suffer. Say it. Be honest, at least here, in this place of truth. Tears streamed down Ada's face. Yes, she admitted. I want revenge. I want them to hurt like they hurt me. I want them to know what it feels like to be humiliated. Destroyed. I want everything, the shadow finished. You want everything they took from you, and you want them to lose everything in return. Yes. Then stay. Sit with us. Sit with death. And if you survive, if you can withstand 3 nights of this, we will give you what you seek. The shadow retreated, but Ada knew it was still there. Watching. Waiting. She pulled her knees tighter to her chest and began to shake. Not from cold, though the cold was unbearable. From fear. From anticipation. From the terrible, exhilarating knowledge that she had just made a bargain with something that existed beyond human understanding. The night stretched on forever. Dawn never came in the mortuary. There was only the harsh fluorescent light that the watchman turned on briefly when he checked that Ada was still alive that first morning. He'd opened the door, peered in, seen her huddled in the corner, nodded, and left. No words. No comfort. Just confirmation that she hadn't died. Yet, the light went off. Darkness returned. Ada's body ached. Her mouth was dry. Ani Ngazika had warned her. No food, no water for 3 days. Your body must understand that it is not in control, the old woman had said. Your spirit must take precedence. Hunger and thirst will help facilitate that separation. Now, sitting in the cold darkness, Ada understood. Her body was weak, but her mind was becoming something else. More aware, more attuned. She could feel the presence of the 2 corpses more acutely now. Not as bodies, but as echoes. Lingering traces of who they had been. The old man had been a teacher. She knew this suddenly, without knowing how. He'd taught mathematics for 40 years. Died of a heart attack grading papers. The young woman, Blessing, her name had been Blessing, died instantly when another driver ran a red light. She'd been on her way to a job interview. I'm sorry, Ada whispered to them both. For what happened to you. For using this space. Don't apologize. Ada's heart stopped. The voice was female. Young. Blessing. I can't hear you. Blessing's voice continued, though her body remained still on the table. Been able to hear everything since I got here. The attendants talking. My mother crying. And now you. I'm sorry, Ada said again. Because what else could she say? Why are you here? Blessing asked. Living people don't just camp out in mortuaries. Ada told her. Everything. The whole story spilled out. Chike's betrayal, his family's cruelty, the pregnant mistress, the humiliation. When she finished, Blessing was quiet for a moment. Then, burn them. What? Not literally. Though that would be satisfying. Blessing's voice held dark humor. But destroy them. You're here, doing this insane thing, touching death for power. Use it. Make them regret every moment they hurt you. You don't think I'm wrong? For wanting revenge. Wrong. Blessing laughed, a sound that echoed strangely in the chamber. I was 23. I had my whole life ahead of me. Some drunk driver took that away in seconds. You think I don't want revenge? You think I don't lie here wishing I could make him suffer? But you can't. No. I'm dead. Truly dead. But you? You're just visiting. You get to go back. And when you do, you'll have power. Use it. For both of us. The old man's voice joined in then, deeper, gravelly. The girl speaks truth, he said. The living never understand how precious their opportunities are. You have been given a chance to balance the scales. Take it. Tears streamed down Ada's face again. Thank you, she whispered. Don't thank us yet, Blessing said. You still have to survive another night. And the second night is worse than the first. Why? Because tonight, you'll start to see them. Really see them. Everything else that's here. And as if Blessing's words had summoned them, Ada saw. The chamber was full. Dozens of shadows. Shapes that weren't quite human. Things that moved wrong, jerked and stuttered like broken film. They'd been there all along. She just hadn't been able to perceive them. Now she could. And they were all looking at her. One moved closer. It had been a man once, maybe. Now it was something stretched and distorted, its face too long, its eyes too many. Alive, it whispered. So alive. So warm. Another joined it. Then another. They pressed against the boundary of her protective circle, testing it, probing for weaknesses. Don't let them touch you, Blessing warned. The boundary will hold if you stay calm. But if you panic, if you break the circle, what happens? They'll swarm you. Try to take what you have. Your warmth. Your life. Your future. Ada forced herself to breathe slowly. In and out. In and out. The things circled her like sharks. Hours crawled by. Her body grew weaker. The hunger was manageable, but the thirst was becoming torture. Her lips cracked. Her tongue felt swollen. And still the shadows circled. One of them spoke in a voice like grinding glass. Why do you want power, little living thing? To make them pay, Ada croaked. Them? Or him? Both. All of them. Hatred is powerful fuel, the thing mused. But it burns fast. What will you do when the hatred runs out and you're left with power but no purpose? I'll figure it out. Will you? The thing pressed closer to the boundary. Or will you become like us? Trapped. Consumed by your own anger and pain. Unable to move on. The question hung in the air. Blessing's voice cut through. Don't listen to it. It's trying to break you. They do that. They want you to give up, to break the circle yourself. But the question burrowed into Ada's mind. What would she do after? After she made them pay? After she got her revenge? She had no answer. The second night dragged on, endless and terrible, full of whispers and movement and the constant, pressing awareness of death all around her. When the watchman's light finally flickered on again, Ada was curled in a ball, barely conscious. One more night. Just one more. Auntie Ngazika came with the watchman on the third evening. The old woman stood in the doorway of the chamber, her eyes scanning Ada's weakened form. She's dying, the watchman said flatly. Not yet. Auntie Ngazika stepped inside, moving to the edge of Ada's protective circle, but not crossing it. Child, can you hear me? Ada lifted her head. Her vision swam. Her body felt like it belonged to someone else, something distant and unimportant. I'm here, she whispered. Tonight is the last night. The most important night. Auntie Ngazika's voice was gentle but firm. Tonight, you will die. What? Not your body. Your body will survive, if you're strong enough. But everything you were. Ada the rejected wife. Ada the humiliated woman. Ada the victim. That person must die tonight. You must let her go completely. Only then can you be reborn as something new. I don't understand. You will. Auntie Ngazika placed something at the edge of the circle, a small mirror. When the time comes, look into this. Look at yourself. And choose who you want to be. Then she was gone. The door closed. The light went out. And Ada was alone again with the dead and the things that lived among them. But something was different tonight. The air felt heavier. Charged. Like the moment before lightning strikes. Tonight's the night, Blessing said from her table. Can you feel it? Feel what? The thinning. Between worlds. Between what is and what could be. On the third night, the boundary becomes almost transparent. The old man spoke too. You will have a choice to make, child. The same choice all of us made, in our way, when we died. To hold on or to let go. To remain or to transform. The shadows in the room began to move differently now, swirling, coalescing. And then the vision started. Suddenly, Ada wasn't in the mortuary anymore. She was in Chaik's house, in their bedroom. But she was invisible, a ghost, watching. Chaik lay in bed with Chidinma. The pregnant woman's head rested on his chest. He stroked her hair with the tenderness he'd once shown Ada. My mother was right, Chike said softly. Marrying Ada was a mistake. She was never right for this family. You're better off without her, Chidinma agreed. She was so difficult, so unwilling to adapt. They laughed together, and Mama Chike entered the room, carrying tea for Chidinma, cooing over her swollen belly. My grandchild, she said reverently. Finally, a woman worthy of my son. The vision shifted. Now Ada saw herself through their eyes. She saw how they'd seen her. Weak, desperate, pathetic. A woman so eager to be accepted that she tolerated anything. A woman with no spine, no fire, no power. A woman they could break. The rage that filled Ada in that moment was apocalyptic. The vision shattered. She was back in the mortuary, but everything had changed. The shadows weren't just circling anymore. They were kneeling. Before her. She's ready, one of them whispered. She's seen the truth, another agreed. She's let go. And Ada realized they were right. The woman she'd been. The woman who'd tried so hard to make that marriage work, to win over that family, to be good enough. That woman was dead. She died somewhere between the first night and the third. Died of cold and hunger and darkness and truth. What remained was something else. Something harder. Something dangerous. Something powerful. The shadows began to move toward her, but not threateningly now. Reverently. They passed through the boundary of her circle as if it no longer existed, or as if she no longer needed it. One by one, they touched her. Each touch brought a gift. From the first, the ability to see truth. To look at any person and know their real intentions, their hidden thoughts, their secret shames. From the second, the ability to speak words that would compel belief. When she commanded, people would obey, unable to resist. From the third, the ability to invoke fear. To make her enemies experience their deepest terrors made manifest. From the fourth, the ability to take. To drain energy, luck, health, happiness from those who'd wronged her. Gift after gift after gift. Until Ada was no longer just Ada. She was something more. Something other. Look in the mirror, Blessing urged. See what you've become. Ada reached for the mirror Unthinkable had left. Her hands didn't shake anymore. They were steady. Sure. She looked. Her reflection stared back. But it wasn't quite her anymore. Her eyes had changed. They were darker now. Deeper, like they held entire universes of shadow within them. Her skin seemed to glow faintly, as if lit from within by cold fire. And around her, visible in the mirror but not in reality, a corona of darkness writhed and moved. Her new power, her new nature, made visible. Beautiful, she whispered. Terrifying, the old man corrected. You are terrifying now, child. As you should be. As anyone who survives what you've survived should be. The chamber began to spin. Or maybe Ada was spinning. It was hard to tell. Her body, weak from 3 days without food or water, finally began to give out. She collapsed. But as she fell, she heard Blessing's voice one last time. Go back to them. Show them what they created. Make them regret everything. The mortuary attendant found her at dawn on the 4th day. He screamed when Ada opened her eyes. Because no one should be that cold and still be alive. No one should have skin that blue, lips that gray, eyes that empty, and still be breathing. But Ada was. Barely. The attendant ran for help. Soon the watchman arrived, then Unthinkable, then paramedics. They wrapped Ada in heated blankets, started in 4, rushed her to the hospital. Doctors couldn't explain it. By all accounts, she should be dead. Hypothermia, dehydration, organ failure. But her vitals slowly stabilized. After 2 days in the hospital, she sat up. After 3, she spoke. After 4, she walked. And after 5, she asked for her phone. Unthinkable brought it to her, along with fresh clothes. How do you feel? The old woman asked. Ada considered the question. Different, she said finally. Like I died and came back wrong. Or maybe came back right for the first time. The power. It's there. I can feel it. Like a second heartbeat. Like breathing. Ada looked at her hands. They looked normal now. But she could feel the potential in them. I know how to use it. The knowledge just appeared. Like it was always there. What will you do? Ada smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. I'm going to visit my husband. Chike's house looked exactly the same. Neat garden. Red door. The BMW he was so proud of in the driveway. Nothing had changed. Except Ada. She walked up the path slowly, savoring the moment. She dreamed of this during those 3 nights in the cold darkness. She knocked. Mama Chike answered. Her face went through several expressions in rapid succession: shock, fear, anger, and finally, disdain. You have the audacity to show your face here, the old woman hissed. After you abandoned my son? I didn't abandon anyone. Ada's voice was calm, almost pleasant. I was thrown out. Remember? We don't want you here. Leave before. Before what? Ada took a step forward. Mama Chike took a step back. Before you call Chike? Good. I'd like to see him. And Chidinma. Are they home? Something in Mama Chike's eyes changed. Fear flickered there, deep and primal. What happened to you? The old woman whispered. I died, Ada said simply. And now I'm back. She walked past Mama Chike into the house. The old woman didn't try to stop her. Couldn't stop her. Chike appeared at the top of the stairs. Ada? What are you? How did you? Hello, husband. Ada looked up at him. We need to talk. He descended slowly, warily, like a man approaching a dangerous animal. Smart. You look different, he said. I am different. Chidinma emerged from the kitchen, her pregnant belly even larger now. Chike, who is, oh. The three of them stood in the living room. Chike, Ada, and Chidinma, while Mama Chike hovered in the doorway, unable to move, unable to speak. Ada activated her first gift, the gift of sight. She looked at Chike and saw everything. His fear right now, yes, but also deeper truths. The way he'd never really loved her. She'd just been convenient, approved by his mother, suitable on paper. The way he'd started the affair with Chidinma within weeks of the wedding. The way he deliberately turned his family against Ada to make her easier to discard. All of it calculated. All of it cruel. She looked at Chidinma and saw ambition dressed as innocence. A woman who'd deliberately gotten pregnant to secure her position. Who'd known Chike was married and hadn't cared. Who'd enjoyed Ada's humiliation. She looked at Mama Chike and saw a woman who destroyed her own son's capacity for love because she couldn't bear to share him with anyone. Who'd sabotaged every relationship he'd ever had. Who'd orchestrated this entire situation because control mattered more to her than his happiness. I can see you, Ada said softly. All of you. Exactly as you are. Ada, listen, Chike started. No. The word cracked through the room like a whip. You listen. For once in your pathetic life, you listen to me. Her second gift activated almost without thought. Compulsion. Chike's mouth snapped shut. His eyes widened in terror as he realized he couldn't speak, couldn't move unless she allowed it. Chidinma gasped. Mama Chike clutched at the doorframe. 3 days, Ada said conversationally, walking around them in a slow circle. I spent 3 days in a mortuary. No food, no water, just cold and darkness and death. Do you know what that does to a person? No one answered. No one could. It strips everything away. All the weakness, all the fear, all the desperate need to be loved by people who will never love you back. She stopped in front of Chike. I died in that place. The woman you married, she's gone. What came back is something else entirely. She reached out and touched his cheek. The third gift. Fear. Chike's eyes rolled back in his head. His body went rigid. She knew what he was seeing, his own personal hell, whatever terrified him most in the depths of his soul. She held the vision for 10 seconds, then released him. He collapsed to his knees, sobbing. What did you do to him? Chidinma screamed, finding her voice. Ada turned to her, smiled. Would you like to find out? Chidinma backed away, her hands protectively cradling her belly. Your baby, Ada said thoughtfully. That's what you're worried about, isn't it? That I'll hurt the baby. Please, Chidinma's voice cracked. I won't touch your child. It's innocent in all this. Ada moved closer. But you? You're not innocent. You knew he was married. You pursued him anyway. You laughed when his mother told me about you. I didn't. Don't lie. Ada's voice dropped to a whisper. I can see the truth now, remember? I can see everything. The fourth gift. Taking. Ada reached out, not physically but spiritually, and began to drain. Chidinma gasped as she felt it. Her energy, her vitality, her luck, all of it flowing out of her and into Ada like water through a broken dam. Stop. Mama Chike finally found her voice. Stop this right now. You're a witch. A demon. Ada released Chidinma, who slumped against the wall, pale and shaking. A witch. Ada turned to face Mama Chike. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just a woman who learned to bite back. You spent 6 months trying to break me. Congratulations. You succeeded. But you didn't realize, broken things are dangerous. Broken things have sharp edges. Get out of my son's house, Mama Chike hissed. Your son's house. Ada laughed, the sound echoing strangely in the room. Even now, you can't see him as a man. He's still your property. You're dull. That's why he's like this. Weak, spineless, unable to stand up to you or for anything. She walked toward Mama Chike. The old woman tried to stand her ground, but her legs betrayed her. She stumbled backward. Here's what's going to happen, Ada said. All of you are going to live with what you've done. Every day, you'll remember this moment. Every night, you'll dream of my face. And whenever you try to enjoy your little victory, your mistress, your baby, your control, you'll feel me watching. You're insane. Chike managed to whisper from the floor. No, Ada corrected. I'm awake. Finally. Completely. And I want you to understand something. All of you. She looked at each of them in turn. I could destroy you. Right now, I have the power. I could take your health, your sanity, your futures. I could make your lives a living hell in ways you can't even imagine. Then do it, Mama Chike spat. If you're so powerful, do it. But I won't, Ada finished calmly. Silence. You won't. Chike looked confused. No, because I realized something during my third night in the darkness. If I spend my power destroying you, I'm still giving you my energy. I'm still letting you control my life. And I'm done with that. Ada moved to the door. Instead, I'm going to let you destroy yourselves. Chike, you're a weak man who will never be happy because you've never learned to choose anything for yourself. You'll resent Chidinma eventually, just like you resented me. And Mama, you'll live just long enough to see your precious son's life fall apart because you never taught him to be a man. She opened the door. And Chidinma, your child will grow up knowing its father is a coward and its existence destroyed a marriage. That's a heavy burden for a child to carry. Wait, Chike called out. What about? Are we still married? Ada turned back, smiled. File for divorce. I won't contest it. You can have your new family, your mother's approval, all of it. I don't want any of this anymore. She gestured around the house. It was never mine anyway. Then why did you come back? Mama Chike demanded. Just to threaten us? No. Ada's smile faded. I came back to prove something to myself. That I could face you without fear. That I could choose mercy even when I wanted revenge. That I'm stronger than my worst impulses. She stepped out into the sunlight. Goodbye, Chike. I hope it was worth it. Behind her, she heard Mama Chike begin to cry. Not in sadness. In rage. But Ada didn't turn around. She walked away from that house, from that life, from that version of herself, and didn't look back. 6 months later, Ada stood in her new apartment. It was small, just one bedroom, a cramped kitchen, a living room barely big enough for a sofa. But it was hers. Truly hers. She'd gotten a job at a publishing house. Entry level, but with room to grow. Her boss liked her, said she had an eye for good stories. If only he knew. The powers hadn't faded. If anything, they'd grown stronger. But Ada used them carefully now, sparingly. She could see through people's lies, yes. But she'd learned to look away sometimes, to give people their privacy. She could compel obedience, yes. But she rarely did. Turns out, people respect you more when you ask rather than command. The fear and taking? She hadn't used those gifts since that day in Chike's house. Didn't need to. Auntie Ngazika visited often. They'd have tea and talk about ordinary things. Work, weather, the neighbor's noisy dog. Sometimes, though, they'd talk about the deeper things. Do you regret it? Her aunt asked one evening. The 3 days? The transformation? Ada considered the question carefully. No, she said finally. But not because of the power. Because it forced me to confront who I was. Desperate, scared, willing to tolerate anything to be loved. That woman needed to die. And who are you now? Someone who loves herself. Someone who knows her worth. Someone who understands that power isn't about controlling others. It's about controlling your own narrative, your own choices, your own life. Auntie Ngazika nodded. You learned the real lesson, then. Most people who gain power become drunk on it. They use it to dominate, to control, to take revenge. I wanted to, Ada admitted. God, I wanted to destroy them. But you didn't. Because I realized, in that moment, standing in that house, that my power came from suffering. And if I used it to create more suffering, I'd just be perpetuating the cycle. I'd become like them. Maybe worse than them. Wisdom, Auntie Ngazika said approvingly. True wisdom. Ada's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. She opened it. This is Blessing's mother. I don't know how I got your number, but I dreamed about you last night. My daughter told me you were kind to her in a dark place. Thank you. Ada's throat tightened. She'd never told anyone about the conversations in the mortuary, about Blessing's encouragement, about the gifts from the shadows. But Blessing's mother knew. Somehow she knew. Thank you, Ada typed back. Your daughter helped me more than she realized. She was brave and kind. She would have liked you, came the response. She always rooted for the underdogs. Ada smiled through tears. The dead remember, she thought. They watch. They care. That night, Ada stood on her small balcony, looking out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, Chaik was probably arguing with Chidinma about something trivial. Mama Chaik was probably controlling every aspect of their lives. The baby had probably been born by now. She felt nothing about it. No anger. No satisfaction. No regret. Just peace. She'd gone into that mortuary seeking power to destroy her enemies. She'd emerged with something better. The power to create her own life. To choose her own path. To be free. 3 years after the mortuary, Ada published her first book. It was a novel about a woman who gains supernatural powers but chooses not to use them for revenge. About transformation and healing. About the difference between strength and cruelty. It became a bestseller. People praised its insight into human nature, its emotional depth, its understanding of suffering and transcendence. If only they knew it was all true. Well, mostly true. During a book tour interview, someone asked, "Where did you get the idea for this story?" Ada smiled. From experience. From learning that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away. That power means nothing if you can't control yourself. That mercy is harder and more powerful than revenge. That's beautiful, the interviewer said. But Ada's story wasn't quite finished. Because Mama Chaik couldn't let go. 3 years after Ada walked out of that house, the old woman tracked her down. Ada was signing books at a store in Lagos when she felt it. That prickle on the back of her neck that meant someone with ill intent was nearby. She looked up. Mama Chaik stood at the edge of the crowd, older now, thinner, with gray streaking through her hair. But her eyes held the same venom. Ada finished signing the book in front of her, smiled at the reader, and then calmly walked toward Mama Chaik. "We should talk," Ada said quietly. Outside, they stood in the parking lot, the city humming around them. "You've done well for yourself," Mama Chaik said bitterly. "While my son struggles." "Does he? His business is failing. Chidinma left him 6 months ago, took the child. He's alone now, drinking himself to death." The old woman's voice cracked. "This is your fault. You cursed him. You witch." Ada felt the old anger flare, but she breathed through it. "I didn't curse him," she said evenly. "I left him alone. Whatever happened after, that's his doing, not mine." "Liar." Mama Chaik's voice rose. People in the parking lot turned to look. "You came to our house with your evil powers. You threatened us. You." "I showed you the truth," Ada interrupted. "About who you all were. About what you'd done. And yes, I had power. I still do. But I didn't use it against Chaik." "Then use it now." Mama Chaik's eyes glittered with desperate rage. "Fix what you broke. Give my son back his life. I can't give him something he never built himself. Please." The word came out strangled. "He's my son. My only son. You don't know what it's like to watch your child destroy themselves." And Ada saw it then, with her gift of sight. Mama Chaik wasn't really angry at Ada. She was angry at herself. She knew, on some level, that she'd created the monster she was now watching consume her son. That her control, her manipulation, her refusal to let him become his own person, all of it had led to this moment. But it was easier to blame Ada than to look in the mirror. "I do understand," Ada said softly. "I understand what it's like to love someone and watch them suffer because of choices they made." "Then help him." "No. Why not? If you have power." "Because he needs to save himself." Ada held the old woman's gaze. "You spent his whole life saving him, protecting him, making decisions for him. And look where it got him. Weak. Dependent. Unable to function when things get hard." "You're cruel," Mama Chaik whispered. "Maybe. Or maybe I'm the only person who's ever been honest with you." Ada softened her voice. "You want to know the real curse? There isn't one. Chaik is living with the consequences of never learning to stand on his own. That's not magic. That's just life. I hate you. I know. But hating me won't fix him." Mama Chaik stood there, trembling with impotent fury, and then she did something Ada never expected. She broke down. Completely. The old woman who'd been so strong, so controlling, so certain, She crumbled. Tears streamed down her face. Her shoulders shook. I don't know how to help him, she sobbed. I don't know what to do anymore. And despite everything, despite the cruelty, the humiliation, the months of suffering, Ada felt compassion. Not pity. Compassion. There's a difference. She stepped forward and placed a gentle hand on Mama Chike's shoulder. Let him fall, Ada said quietly. Let him hit bottom. And then, when he asks for help, not you demanding to fix him, but him actually asking, help him find a therapist. Help him find support. But don't do the work for him. He'll hate me. Maybe. But at least he'll have a chance to become himself. Don't you want that? Don't you want to know who your son really is, underneath all your expectations? Mama Chike pulled away, wiping her eyes. I don't know if I can do that. That's the real work, Ada said. Not magic. Not power. Just the hard, painful work of letting go and trusting that the people we love can survive without us controlling them. The old woman looked at her for a long moment. You really did die, didn't you? She said. In that mortuary. The Ada I knew, frightened, desperate Ada, she's gone. Yes. What took her place? Ada smiled. Someone who learned that the only person I can control is myself. And that's enough. Mama Chike nodded slowly, then turned and walked away. Ada watched her go, knowing she'd probably never see the old woman again. And that was okay. Some stories don't get neat endings. Some people don't get redemption arcs. Sometimes, you just move forward and hope that somewhere, in their own time, they figure it out. The legacy. 5 years after the mortuary, Ada opened a small counseling center in her neighborhood. It wasn't therapy exactly. She wasn't licensed for that. But she offered something else. Guidance for women who'd been broken by relationships, by families, by circumstances beyond their control. Women who needed to hear that they could transform their pain into power. That they could die and come back different. That they deserved better. She called it the threshold. Because that's what she helped women cross. The threshold between who they were and who they could become. Some of them sensed something different about her. Something other. The way her eyes seemed to see too much. The way her words hit too deep. The way being in her presence felt like standing at the edge of something vast and dark and transformative. But they trusted her because she'd been there. She understood. One evening, a young woman came to the center. Her name was Ifeoma, and she looked exactly like Ada had 5 years ago, beaten down, desperate, clinging to the hope that someone could fix her situation. My husband cheats, Ifeoma said. His family treats me like trash. I have nowhere to go. No money. No options. Ada listened to the whole story. It could have been her story. It was so many women's stories. When Ifeoma finished, Ada leaned forward. I'm going to ask you a hard question, she said. What do you want? I want him to stop. I want them to respect me. I want. No. Ada's voice was gentle but firm. What do you want? Not what you want them to do. What do you want for yourself? Ifeoma blinked, confused. I don't understand. You're focused on changing them, making them see your value, forcing them to treat you better. But here's the truth. You can't control them. You can only control you. So I should just accept it? God, no. Ada smiled. I'm saying you should stop giving them your power. Stop waiting for them to validate you. Stop believing that your worth comes from their approval. But how? You transform. You take all that pain, all that rage, all that desperation, and you use it as fuel. You die to who you were, the woman who tolerated their abuse, and you become someone new, someone who knows her worth, someone who walks away from anyone who doesn't see it. Ifeoma's eyes filled with tears. That sounds impossible. It is impossible, until you do it. Ada reached across and took the young woman's hand. I'm not going to lie to you. It's hard. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do. You'll have to face some dark places inside yourself. You'll have to let go of things you thought you needed. You'll have to become comfortable with uncertainty and loneliness and fear. Then why do it? Because on the other side of that darkness, you find yourself. Your real self. Not the self you perform for others. Not the self that bends and breaks to fit into spaces too small for her. The self that exists independent of anyone else's opinion. Did you do this? Ada hesitated. She rarely talked about her own story in detail. But something in Ifeoma's eyes, that desperate hope mixed with terror, reminded Ada so much of herself that she decided to share. Yes, she said. I went to a dark place. Literally and figuratively. I touched death. And when I came back, I was different. Stronger. But here's what I learned. You don't need a mortuary. You don't need literal death. You just need to be willing to let go of who you think you're supposed to be. How long did it take? 3 days. 3 years. It depends on how you measure. Ada smiled. The physical transformation was fast. The emotional and spiritual one, I'm still working on it. Ifeoma nodded slowly. Will you help me? Yes, but only if you promise me one thing. What? That you'll do the work. That you won't just come here looking for me to fix your situation with magic words or easy answers. Real transformation requires commitment. It requires you to show up day after day, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. I promise. And Ada believed her, because she recognized something in Ifeoma that she'd seen in her own mirror that day in the mortuary. The spark. The ember of rage and determination that, if properly tended, could become a fire that burned away everything false and left only truth. The full circle. 7 years after the mortuary, Ada received an invitation to a wedding. Blessing's younger sister was getting married, and Blessing's mother, who Ada had stayed in touch with, wanted her there. Blessing would have wanted you to celebrate with us, the message said. You kept her company in the darkness. Now come celebrate life with us in the light. Ada went. The wedding was beautiful, full of color and music and joy. Blessing's family welcomed Ada warmly, though they didn't quite understand the connection between her and their lost daughter. How could they? During the reception, Blessing's mother pulled Ada aside. She still visits me in dreams, the old woman said. My Blessing. And she always mentions you. Does she? She says you kept your promise. That you didn't let the darkness consume you. That you chose mercy over vengeance. The mother smiled through tears. I don't know what promise she means, but she seems proud of you. Ada's throat tightened. Thank you for telling me. Can I ask you something? Of course. That night, the night my daughter died, did something happen to you too? You feel different, like you've touched something most people never touch. Ada considered lying. It would be easier. But Blessing's mother deserved the truth. Yes, she said quietly. Something happened. Your daughter helped me through it, in ways that are hard to explain. But she saved me, in a sense. Gave me the courage to transform. Then she's still doing good in this world. The mother squeezed Ada's hand. Even from beyond it. They stood together, watching the bride and groom dance, celebrating love and new beginnings. And Ada felt Blessing's presence, just for a moment. A warmth, a whisper, a sense of approval. You did good, the presence seemed to say. You survived. You transformed. You chose life. Thank you, Ada thought back. For everything. The presence faded, but the warmth remained. 10 years after the mortuary, someone asked Ada during an interview, if you could go back and change what happened, avoid the pain, skip the transformation, would you? Ada thought about it carefully. No, she said finally, because pain taught me things comfort never could. Darkness showed me things light always hides. Breaking taught me how to rebuild myself stronger. But surely you'd want to avoid the suffering? Suffering isn't valuable in itself, Ada clarified. I don't romanticize pain. What I'm saying is, sometimes we grow most in the places that hurt most. Sometimes transformation requires destruction first. That sounds like you're saying abuse made you stronger. No. Ada's voice was firm. Abuse never makes anyone stronger. But surviving abuse, refusing to let it define you, choosing to transform yourself despite it, that's where strength comes from. Not from the abuse itself, but from your response to it. What would you say to women in similar situations? I'd say, you don't need supernatural powers to transform your life. You don't need to sleep in a mortuary. What you need is the courage to let the old version of yourself die. To stop clinging to situations and people that diminish you. To walk into the unknown, even when it terrifies you, because staying where you are would kill you slowly. Is that what you did? Yes. I went to the darkest place I could imagine. I faced death, literally and metaphorically, and I came back different. Ada paused. But here's the secret. Every woman has that power already. To die and be reborn. To transform. To become. You don't need magic. You just need the will to do it. What happened to your husband? To his family? I don't know, Ada said honestly. I haven't kept track. That part of my life ended 10 years ago. I grieved it, learned from it, and moved on. No revenge. No revenge. That must have been difficult. It was the hardest thing I ever did, Ada admitted. Harder than the 3 days in the mortuary. Because revenge is easy. It feels justified, satisfying, righteous. Mercy, choosing to let go, to move forward, to build something new instead of destroying something old. That's hard. That takes real power. Do you think they ever realized what they'd done? To you? Maybe. Maybe not. That's not my concern anymore. My concern is what I do with the life I have now. The person I've become. The women I can help. That's where I put my energy. Any final advice for people going through similar struggles? Ada smiled. Yes. Remember that transformation is possible. Always. No matter how dark it gets, no matter how broken you feel, you can rebuild. You can become someone new. You can choose who you want to be. That's the real power. Not controlling others, but choosing yourself. Over and over, every day. 15 years after the mortuary, Ada stood in front of a crowd of 500 women. She'd been invited to speak at a conference about female empowerment, resilience, and transformation. She took the microphone and looked out at all those faces, different ages, different backgrounds, different stories, but united by the common experience of being women who'd survived things that should have destroyed them. 15 years ago, Ada began. I slept in a mortuary for 3 days. Gasps. Whispers. I did it because I thought I needed supernatural powers to deal with the people who'd hurt me. I thought I needed to become something other than human to survive. And in a way, I did transform. I did gain power. But not the kind I expected. She paused, letting the words sink in. The power I gained wasn't the ability to curse my enemies or control their fates. It was something simpler and more profound. The power to control my own narrative. To choose my own path. To refuse to let other people's cruelty define who I am. The room was silent now. Every woman leaning forward, listening. You don't need to sleep in a mortuary, Ada continued. You don't need magic or supernatural intervention. What you need is already inside you. The ability to let go of who you were and become who you're meant to be. The courage to walk away from situations that diminish you. The strength to build a new life, even when it means starting from nothing. She looked around the room, making eye contact with as many women as she could. Some of you are in those dark places right now, trapped in relationships or situations that are killing you slowly. And you're thinking, I can't leave. I have no money, no support, nowhere to go. I'm too weak, too broken, too afraid. Nods throughout the audience. Tears on some faces. I understand, Ada said softly. I've been there. And I'm here to tell you, you're stronger than you know. The fact that you're still here, still fighting, still hoping for something better, that's strength. That's power. So what do? A voice called from the audience. You start small, Ada said. One decision at a time. One boundary at a time. One day at a time. You start choosing yourself, even in tiny ways. And those tiny choices accumulate. They build. They transform you, gradually, until one day you wake up and realize you're not the same person anymore. You've died and been reborn. And you did it yourself, with your own strength, your own courage, your own power. Standing ovation. Women on their feet, clapping, crying, embracing each other. And Ada stood there, remembering the cold mortuary floor, the shadows that circled her, the moment she chose mercy over revenge. All of it led to this. Not to vengeance or destruction, but to purpose and meaning. To helping other women find their own power. To breaking cycles instead of perpetuating them. That night, alone in her hotel room, Ada looked at herself in the mirror. Her eyes were still dark, still deep. The gifts she'd received that night hadn't faded. She could still see truth, still compel when necessary, still invoke fear or take what she needed. But she rarely used those powers anymore. Didn't need to. Because she'd discovered something more powerful than any supernatural gift. The power of choice. The power of mercy. The power of becoming. She smiled at her reflection. Thank you, she whispered. To blessing. To the spirits. To wanting Gazika. To the woman she'd been, who'd had the courage to enter that mortuary and face death itself. Thank you for the transformation. Thank you for the lesson. Thank you for showing me that real power isn't about controlling others. It's about freeing yourself. Want to hear more stories like Ada's? Stories about transformation, survival, and finding power in impossible places? Subscribe to this channel. Hit that notification bell. Because every week, I bring you stories about real people who faced impossible situations and came out stronger. Women who refused to stay broken. People who transformed their pain into purpose. Stories that remind us all we're more powerful than we know. Drop a comment below. What would you do if you had supernatural powers for 3 days? Revenge or mercy? Let's talk about it. And remember Ada's final lesson. You don't need magic to transform your life. You just need the courage to let go of who you were and become who you're meant to be. That's a power we all have. Starting right now. See you in the next story.